If you thought the Gillette ad was bad, you didn't like it, I got bad news for you. It's not the first, by no means, and it certainly won't be the last. This is the beginning of a trend in political advertising that is going to continue to escalate, and there are several reasons for this. For one, institutions that award commercial marketing, award production, and short films are typically left. Hollywood is very left-leaning. The reason I bring this up is that in this CNN story, what the Gillette ad says about the trend in woke advertising, the first thing they mentioned, last year Procter & Gamble won an Emmy Award for The Talk, an ad showing African-American parents discussing racism with their young children. It didn't promote a product. The ad was released as part of the company's My Black is Beautiful campaign. A new P&G ad for Gillette this week comes from the same socially conscious playbook and asks men to take a look at their own toxic masculinity. But I want to make a point about something, several points actually. We'll read through this. We're going to talk about woke advertising, and we're going to talk about why, once again, Gillette was a failure. And I want to talk about why even... So I like this ad. I like this ad, The Talk. Okay, if you haven't seen it, I don't care to actually play it. You can watch it on your own time. It's basically, throughout several decades, black parents talking to their children about racism. However, in my experience, many of the things they're saying, aside from the overt racism, like the first one you see where the mother's talking to her daughter, it's because people were insulting her for her appearance. Well, they were complimenting her because she looked good for being black, which, in my opinion, wrong. In this one, she says, they're going to use that word against you, don't let that get you down. I also agree with that. I like that. I'm like, yes, absolutely, it is wrong. I do not like these racists. However, at one point in the advertisement, let me see if I can jump forward. Here, Galaxy Camp. The mother tells her daughter, you have to be twice as smart and work twice as hard if you want to succeed. And I think that's the kind of rhetoric that gets rather dangerous for a few reasons. That's not a race issue. That's a class issue. And there's another moment at the end that also I take issue with, because once again, this right here, the mother says, we need to talk about you getting pulled over. And she goes, Mom, I'm not going to get pulled over. I'm a good driver. And she goes, I'm not talking about getting a ticket. I'm talking about you not coming home. And then she goes, I'm going to be okay, right? It's like, okay, hold on. First of all, yes, there is a disproportionate amount of unarmed black people who are killed by police. That's true. And yes, there are police who racially profile. Also true. Racism is wrong. It is bad. I like this commercial, okay? The problem I have with just these two parts is that as someone who grew up in a poor area, I had the same talk with my dad. The dad had these talks with me. Getting in a car for the first time, my dad was teaching me to drive. Actually, I didn't drive until I was 18. I didn't go to driver's ed. I wasn't in high school. My dad said, when you get pulled over, here's what you need to do and here's why you need to do it. You need to put both your hands on the steering wheel. You need to turn the radio off, turn the engine off, put the keys on the dashboard, have your wallet on the dashboard, and have your hands on the steering wheel. Because when that officer comes up and you start reaching in your pockets, you start fiddling with knobs, you can't hear what he's saying, it can get dangerous. You got to be careful. And I said, okay. And that it wasn't a talk where he said, you're going to die. No, but it was, in all seriousness, if the cop thinks you're reaching for something, he could shoot you. My dad was a firefighter, so he probably saw this a lot. He probably understood this. There's something I find really fascinating in when people talk about the talk and this woke stuff and racism, and it's that, as you all probably know at this point, the hidden tribes, YouGov data that I frequently cite, progressive activists, the people who make these, they're rich people. I don't care about the color of their skin. I don't care about their race, their gender, whatever. They're wealthy. I'll tell you one thing that guarantees you're going to be fine when you get pulled over. You're in a Lambo. Okay, you're wearing a suit. That cop's going to walk up and be like, yeah, right, like this dude. But what happens when you're wearing a loose Dago and some cargo shorts and you're in an old Mazda 32389 hatchback with rust all over the back? Yeah, the cop's going to be like, what is this? Is this going to be... I grew up on the South Side. We had drugs. We had gangs. So the cops are on edge. I don't necessarily fault all the cops for profiling to an extent. If you see somebody who's dressed a certain way, and it's common, like, if you're wearing clothes that are similar to gang colors, or you look a certain way, like, that's the first thing people are going to judge you on. That's a fact. In sales and marketing, we learn you look at people's shoes first and foremost to make a determination about them, not their race. And that's another thing that bothers me, too. People act like, certainly we've had racism in the past, but today, it's what bothers me about the left is the assumption that based on how someone looks, and this is the left doing this, based on how someone looks, you can make a judgment call about them. You can look at their shoes. No, seriously. Depending on someone's shoes, you can learn a lot about them, and that's what we learn you learn that in sales and marketing. Anyway, the point I want to make is this commercial was produced it was very likely produced by upper middle class white progressives or white conservative types who know pandering to this emotional stuff can get them awards. This is from Procter & Gamble. They own Gillette. This ad didn't promote anything. It just showed black families having the talk. And what kind of bums me out is where's my video? Where's the video talking about being poor in America? Where's the video talking about growing up on the South Side in a mixed race community and still facing this police brutality? It feels like my experience gets erased, and white progressives make assumptions about me based on my race, assuming that I have wealth or privilege when I was actually homeless several times, and I'm actually mixed, right? Because of the complexion of my skin, they make assumptions about me. Yet at the same time, they have no problem saying Sean King is black. Sean King is literally whiter than I am. I'm not even trying to be disrespectful or making that up. He literally is. Complexion-wise, and I believe literally like percentage-wise. Yet for some reason he is it's fine. Why? It's political. He agrees with them. He plays to their cause, and that's what they're gonna let him go on this stuff. The point is another point that needs to be made. Why I like this commercial, because it shows you an experience. Okay, I take issue with kind of feeling neglected for sure, but I recognize this is an experience people have. And I have no problem watching a commercial that explains that experience to me, admittedly, as I mentioned, there are some things I did experience. Having my parents tell me that there's going to be people who hate me because my mom's Korean, my dad's white, I had that talk too. That people are going to say words against me that, and don't let words bother you. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but words will never hurt you. That's one of the first things I learned when I was a kid. So I had many of these same experiences, but too often, my demographic, which is a significantly smaller minority than the black community, if you're going by Asian or by mixed race, we don't get the same privilege we don't get people saying, hey man, we want to understand your experience. So for me, that makes me feel left out. But the point is, I'm an adult, okay? I mean, I understand simply because they made this commercial talking about one group of people, it doesn't mean they're slighting me. And that's why I'm fine with it. I think this is a great message. There are people there. This is a real experience for many people. However, the Gillette commercial was a negative example. In this, it's defensive. You're talking about these people who are victims, who are being assaulted, who are being attacked. You're saying these people. Imagine if, and as many people as brought up, imagine if this Gillette commercial, right, which shows like bullies and guys, harassing women and things like that. Imagine if they made this commercial, the talk. But instead of showing defensive, they showed black people doing things stereotypically bad. That would be unheard of. So why would you make an ad targeting men in a negative way, berating them, insulting them? Here's my proposal, and I told this to my friends, and obviously people don't care. There are people on the right who are just like, oh, Gillette's stupid. They shouldn't have done this. And then you have people on the left saying, oh God, snowflakes complaining. No. Listen. The Gillette ad could have been a slam dunk if they did one thing. They could have taken very similar narrative language, like the narration, but instead of showing bullies, it shows like a firefighter pulling someone out of a burning building. It shows first responders, pulling someone out of an avalanche, EMTs carrying someone, a doctor performing surgery in an operating room, and it could have said, this is the best a man can be. And interlaced within those, it could have shown men stopping harassers and stopping bullies. The point is, they made a commercial where they said, men, you're doing wrong, do better. And you get a bunch of feminists who are like, ha! The reason the feminists are like, this is great, is because it's attacking the other. And the reason the male feminists are fine with it is because they pander up to, feminists. I mean, we've seen how many abusers and harassers are lurking within the social justice left. It's like Reset the Clock is a meme that talks about how many of these people within that community actually turn out to be abusers. It's almost like every week you hear this. And so they just kiss ass. Not all of them. There are a lot of guys who genuinely are just like, who cares, right? And I think that's a fair response. I do think people are, there's a lot of people who are angrier than they really need to be, and you can kind of just be like, whatever. Admittedly, I'm not going to be buying, I'm not going to overtly try and go to my way to avoid Procter & Gamble. I don't care for the most part, but I probably won't buy Gillette stuff. I mean, let's be honest, you guys notice I almost never shave anyway. But the point is, I would have loved to have seen a commercial where you have all of these great acts of heroism, and they just sprinkle in someone stopping bullies. Like, how perfect would it, how much it would have been perfect, right? You've got like, actually, you know what'd be really cool? Here's my pitch. One guy is the main character, right? And it shows him like going to work. He's driving in his car when he stops to help someone like change their tire, and then he gives them a hug and shakes their hand and leaves. Turns out he's a firefighter. And then it like basically shows this guy's life, and it shows him doing great things. And it could show like some dude's bullying someone, and then he gets in the way and stops him. Or like when he was a kid, it does that. They could have shown all of these really good things without making the focus that men do wrong, talk about what they do right, and praise them for it. It would have been a celebration. Anyway, I went off on a tangent. The point of this video is that the CNN article talks about, you know, P&G, other companies they're going to be doing much more of this. They believe that the Nike strategy with Colin Kaepernick paid off. CEO Mark Parker told analysts in September that the ad resonated with consumers in both North America and around the world. We've seen record engagement with the brand as part of the campaign. They talk about how Pepsi made a blunder. But ultimately, the point of the article is that this will not stop here. It's going to keep happening, especially when they won an Emmy for this short film. Why did Procter & Gamble make this film? I have no idea. But I'll tell you one thing. I'm pretty sure the people who praise it are just white, wealthy progressives, and it talked to them, okay? In my opinion, this ad, The Talk, was not aimed at the black community. It was aimed at white progressives to make them feel and feel sorry for others. Why? In my opinion, they are white supremacists. And I mean that in the literal sense. Now, before I sign off, just to explain, I do not believe these people think they're better, that white people are inherently superior, like the typical definition. They're a new kind of left-wing white supremacist where they believe they are politically superior and morally superior, and they are white saviors. And you'll hear this a lot coming from people in, say, like Black Lives Matter. You have these white people who believe it is their job to save the minorities and do these things. But all too often, they throw everyone else under the bus for their own skin. But anyway, I'm going to ramble on and on. The point is, final thought, expect more, and expect it to get worse. But I would advise anybody making these commercials, Procter & Gamble, etc., just make positive ads, okay? This commercial, The Talk, it won an Emmy. You didn't berate the black community. You've shown an experience. The ads they did for women, about women's empowerment, they didn't berate women saying you're doing wrong, you're too weak, why aren't you, you need to get over your weakness. They said, no, you're strong and you can succeed. And they could have done the same thing for men, but they didn't. And that's why their ad is probably a blunder. So anyway, stick around. I got some more videos coming up on this channel at 6 p.m. But my main, big produced analysis, 4 p.m. youtube.com/Timcast. And I will see you all then.